Reading through the Bible in 1 year, May 28th, Deuteronomy chapter 1, Psalms 81 through 82, Isaiah 29, and 3rd John. Since we're in a new book, let's go ahead and read the introduction. Deuteronomy, which means second law, is a retelling by Moses of the teachings and events of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. It includes an extended review of the Ten Commandments in chapter 4, verse 44 through chapter 5, verse 33, and Moses' farewell address to the new congregation of Israelites as they stand ready to take possession of the Promised Land. Moses reminds them of God's faithfulness and love, but also of God's wrath on the previous generation of Israelites because of their rebellion. Repeatedly, he charges Israel to keep the law. Deuteronomy is a solemn call to love and obey the one true God. There are blessings for faithfulness and curses for unfaithfulness. This book closes with the selection of Joshua as Israel's new leader in the death of Moses. I'd like to congratulate you for getting through if you're following along with me, through the first 4 books of the Old Testament. Most people stop about halfway through that number and they don't get any further. So if you're this far, congratulations. When we finish this book, you'll have completed what is referred to as the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books. This book here is what people typically refer to as the law. When they say that, we found the book of the law, they don't mean Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. They mean typically this one. So that's normally what you would see. So when a new king in Israel is chosen, right, what you'll typically find is that they were supposed to, and remember at this point, they're not going to have any kings. This is something that would never happen. But later on, when they do get kings, they are supposed to write the book of the law in their own hand. This proves that they've not only read it, but that they know it forwards and backwards, having gone through and written it themselves. So, given that information, it would be a lot for them to rewrite Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. So instead, they typically would just rewrite this book. But that said, let's begin. Verse 1. These are the words which Moses spoke to all Israel across the Jordan, in the wilderness, in the Arabah opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban and Hazeroth and Dizahab. It is 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. Now it happened in the 40th year, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses spoke to the children of Israel, according to all that Yahweh had commanded to give to them, after he had struck down Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth and Edrei. Across the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moses undertook to expound this law, saying, Yahweh, our God, spoke to us at Horeb, saying, You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Turn and set out, and go to the hill country of the Amorites, and go to all their neighbors in the Arabah, in the hill country, and in the Shephelah, and in the Negeb, and by the sea coast, the land of the Canaanites, and Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. See, I have given over the land before you. Go in and possess the land, which Yahweh swore to give to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to them and to their seed after them. And I spoke to you at the same time, saying, I am not able to bear the burden of you alone. Yahweh, your God, has multiplied you. And behold, you are this day like the stars of heaven in number. May Yahweh, the God of our fathers, increase you 1,000-fold more than you are, and bless you, just as he has promised you. How can I alone bear the load and burden of you and your strife? Choose a wise and understanding and choose wise and understanding and experienced men from your tribes, and I will appoint them as your heads. Then you answered me and said, the thing which you have said to do is good. So I took the heads of your tribes, wise and experienced men, and gave them as heads over you, leaders of thousands and of hundreds, of fifties and of tens, and officers of your tribes. Then I commanded your judges at that time, saying, hear the cases between your brothers, and judge righteously between a man and his brother, or the sojourner who is with him. You shall not show partiality in judgment. You shall hear the small and the great alike. You shall not fear man, for the judgment is God's. The case that is too hard for you, you shall bring to me, and I will hear it. And I commanded you at that time all the things which you should do. Then we set out from Horeb, and went through all that great and fearsome wilderness, which you saw on the way to the hill country of the Amorites, just as Yahweh, our God, had commanded us. And we came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said to you, you have come to the hill country of the Amorites, which Yahweh, our God, is about to give us. See, Yahweh, your God, has given over the land before you. Go up, take possession, as Yahweh, the God of your fathers, has spoken to you. Do not fear or be dismayed. And all of you came near to me and said, let us send men before us, that they may search out the land for us, and bring back to us the word of the way by which we should go up, and the cities which we shall enter. The thing was good in my sight, and I took 12 of your men, 1 man for each tribe. And they turned and went up into the hill country, and came to the valley of Eshcol, and spied it out. They took some of the fruit of the land in their hands, and brought it down to us. And they brought back to us word, and said, it is a good land, which Yahweh our God is about to give us. Yet you were not willing to go up, but rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh your God. And you grumbled in your tents and said, because Yahweh hates us, he has brought us out of the land of Egypt to give us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Where can we go up? Our brothers have made our hearts melt, saying, the people are bigger and taller than we, and the cities are large and fortified to heaven. Moreover, we saw the sons of the Anakim there. Then I said to you, do not be in dread nor fear them. Yahweh your God, who goes before you, will himself fight on your behalf, just as he did for you in Egypt before your eyes, and in the wilderness where you saw how Yahweh your God carried you, just as a man carries his son, in all the way which you have walked until you came to this place. But for all this you did not believe Yahweh your God, who goes before you on your way, to spy out a place for you to encamp, in fire by night and cloud by day, to show you the way which you should go. Then Yahweh heard the sound of your words, and he was angry, and swore an oath, saying, not one of these men, this evil generation, shall see the good land which I swore to give to your fathers. Except Caleb the son of Jephunneh, he shall see it. And to him and to his sons I will give the land on which he has set his foot, because he has followed Yahweh fully. Yahweh was angry also with me on your account, saying, not even you shall enter there. Joshua the son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall enter there. Strengthen him, for he will cause Israel to inherit it. Moreover, your little ones, who you said will become plunder, and your sons, who this day have no knowledge of good or evil, shall enter there, and I will give it to them, and they shall possess it. But as for you, turn around, and set out for the wilderness by the way to the Red Sea. Then you said to me, we have sinned against Yahweh. We will indeed go up and fight, just as Yahweh our God commanded us. And every man of you girded on his weapons of war, and regarded it as easy now to go up into the hill country. Yahweh said to me, say to them, do not go up, and do not fight, for I am not among you, so that you are not defeated before your enemies. So I spoke to you, but you would not listen. Instead, you rebelled against the command of Yahweh and acted presumptuously and went up into the hill country. And the Amorites who lived in that hill country came out to meet you and pursued you as bees do and crushed you from Seir to Hormah. Then you returned, and then you wept before Yahweh, but Yahweh did not listen to your voice nor give ear to you. So you remained in Kadesh many days, according to the days that you remained there. Let's move on now to Psalms 81 through 82. Sing for joy to God our strength. Make a loud shout to the God of Jacob. Lift up a song of praise. Strike the tambourine. The sweet sounding of the sweet sounding lyre with the harp. Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. For it is a statute for Israel, a judgment for the God of Jacob. He established it for a testimony in Joseph when he went forth over the land of Egypt. I heard a language that I did not know. I relieved his shoulder of the burden. His hands were freed from the basket. You called in distress, and I rescued you. I answered you in the hiding place of thunder. I tested you at the waters of Meribah. Selah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify against you. O Israel, if you would listen to me. Let there be no strange god among you, and you shall not worship a foreign god. I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people did not listen to my voice, and Israel was not willing to obey me. So I released them over to the stubbornness of their heart, that they would walk in their own devices. Oh, that my people would listen to me, that Israel would walk in my ways. I would quickly subdue their enemies, and I would turn my hand against their adversaries. Those who hate Yahweh would cower before him, and their time of punishment would be forever. But I would feed you with the finest of the wheat, and the honey from the rock, and with the honey from the rock, I would satisfy you. Psalm 82. God takes a stand in the congregation of God. He judges in the midst of gods. That's lowercase g, it means lower rulers, like, presidents and whatnot. How long will you judge unrighteously and show partiality to the wicked? Selah. Give justice to the poor and the orphan. Give the afflicted and destitute. Justify the afflicted and the destitute. Protect the poor and the needy. Deliver them out of the hand of the wicked. They do not know and do not understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are gods, and all of you are sons of the Most High. Nevertheless, you will die like men, and you will fall like any one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for it is you who will inherit all the nations. There's all the notes. And now Isaiah 29. Woe, O Ariel! Ariel, the city where David once camped. Where's the note on this? Ariel may mean altar hearth, which would refer to Jerusalem's role as the home of the temple. Add year to year. Observe your feasts on schedule. I will bring distress to Ariel, and she will be a city of mourning and moaning, and she will be like an Ariel to me. And I will camp against you, encircling you, and I will fortify siege works against you, and I will raise up fortifications against you. Then you will be brought low. From the earth you will speak, and from the dust where you are prostrate, your words will come. Your voice will also be like that of a spirit from the ground, and your speech will whisper from the dust. But it will be that the multitude of your enemies will become like fine dust, and the multitude of the ruthless ones like the chaff which blows away. And it will happen instantly, suddenly. From Yahweh of hosts you will be punished with thunder, and with earthquake and loud noise, with whirlwind and tempest, and the flame of a consuming fire. These are all references to when God stood before them on Mount Sinai in Exodus chapter 20 and terrified them. Verse 7, and it will be that the multitude of all the nations who wage war against Ariel, even all who wage war against her and her stronghold, and who distress her, will be like a dream, a vision of the night. And it will be as when a hungry man dreams, and behold, he is eating, but he awakens, and his soul is empty. Or as when a thirsty man dreams, and behold, he is drinking, but he awakens, and behold, he is faint, and his soul is not quenched. Thus the multitude of the nations will be who wage war against Mount Zion. Astonish yourselves and be astonished. Blind yourselves and be blind. They become drunk, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For Yahweh has poured over you a spirit of deep sleep. He has shut your eyes, the prophets. He has covered your heads, the seers. The entire vision will be to you like the words of a sealed book, which, when they give it to the one who was, the entire vision will be to you like the words of a sealed book, which, when they give it to the one who is literate, saying, please read this, he will say, I cannot, for it is sealed. Then the book will be given to the one who does not know how to read a book, saying, please read this, and he will say, I do not know how to read a book. Then the Lord said, because this people will draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but they will remove their hearts from me. And their fear of me is not in the command of men learned by rote. I'm going to restate that. I said that wrong. And their fear of me is in the command of men learned by rote. What is this? This is traditionalism. These are people who have grown up going to church, and they just go to church because that's what you do. Christmas and Easter and all of those things. They have children, and they go, well, when I was a kid, my parents took me to church, so now I have to take my children to church. They're just following along with it. They're not paying attention. None of it makes sense to them because they don't care. There's no changed heart, and there's no changed desires which lead them to God. Therefore, behold, I will once again deal marvelously with this people, wondrously marvelous, and the wisdom of their wise men will perish, and the discernment of their discerning men will be hidden. Woe to those who deeply hide their counsel from Yahweh, whose deeds are done in a dark place. And they say, well, who sees us? Or who knows us? You turn things around. Shall the potter be considered as equal with the clay? In what is made would say to its maker, he did not make me. Or what is formed, say to him who formed it, he has no understanding. We have this today, don't we? With atheists and everyone who would constantly want to chase after their own heart's desire, which is self-worship and sin and all of these other things. That's where they want to throw themselves toward for even just the momentary pleasures of sin. And they turn to God, the one who created them, and they say, you don't exist. You didn't create me. I create my own destiny. I'm the master of my own life. I can do whatever I want. Are these not the same people? Verse 17. Is it not yet just a little while before Lebanon will be turned into a fruitful orchard, and the fruitful orchard will be counted as a forest? On that day the deaf will hear words of a book, and out of the darkness, in thick darkness, the eyes of the blind will see. The afflicted also will increase their gladness in Yahweh. And the needy of mankind will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the ruthless will come to an end, and the scoffer will be finished. Indeed, all who are watching out to do evil will be cut off, who cause a person to sin by a word, and ensnare him who reproves at the gate, and defraud the one in the right with meaningless arguments. Therefore, thus says Yahweh, who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Jacob, Jacob shall not now be ashamed, and now his face shall not turn pale. But when he sees his children, the work of my hands, and in his midst, they will sanctify my name. Indeed, they will sanctify the Holy One of Jacob, and will stand trembling before the God of Israel. Those who are in spirit will know discernment, and those who criticize will gain learning. Let's conclude today in 3 John. Since we're in a new book, let's go ahead and read the introduction. 3 John supplements statements on Christian hospitality in 2 John. It applauds a Christian named Gaius for living out the teachings of the apostles. He had welcomed traveling Christian missionaries into his home, while condemning Diotrephes, a selfish church leader who not only refused to help these itinerant godly teachers, but also had slandered and opposed those who disagreed with him. If you've ever been on Christian Twitter, you know. This book demonstrates that pride can divide Christians if they are not living by God's word. To avoid the dual dangers of false teaching and division within the church, believers should practice the dual virtues of love and discernment. The letter was probably written by the Apostle John in the late 1st century AD. Let's begin. The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that in all aspects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. This isn't talking financial prosperity. He's saying, I hope things go well for you. Verse 3, for I rejoice greatly when brothers came and bore witness to your truth, that is, how you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than this, to hear that my children are walking in the truth. It doesn't mean it's his actual child. It means someone who has learned through his teaching. Verse 5, beloved, you are acting faithfully in whatever work you do for the brothers, and are doing this though they are strangers. And they bore witness to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their way in a manner worthy of God. For they went out for the sake of the name, capital N name, this is Jesus the Christ, receiving nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support such men, so that we may be fellow workers with the truth. I wrote something to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them, does not welcome what we say. For this reason, if I come, I will bring to remembrance his deeds which he does, unjustly disparaging us with wicked words. And not satisfied with this, he himself does not welcome the brothers either, and he forbids those who want to do so, and puts them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. The one who does good is of God, and the one who does evil has not seen God. Demetrius has received a good witness from everyone, and from the truth itself, and we add our witness, and you know that our witness is true. I had many things to write to you, but I am not willing to write them to you with pen and ink, but I hope to see you shortly, and will speak face to face. Peace be to you. The friends greet you. Greet the friends by name. And that's it. That's all the text and all of the notes for today. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, The word of the Lord.